prisoner, it is obvious people don't get what prison is about. Even if you put me in the Dorchester Hotel with the prison regime, the punishment is still the same. And we're talking about prison bars to be removed from cell windows at new jails following a UK government-funded study which warned they were punitive and institutional. If you're in Berwyn, in Wrexham, you have the chance to play football on modern pitches, you enjoy yoga and also learn a trade. And the professor behind the research has just told us that prisoners also have the opportunity to order groceries online. Let's talk to Cody Lachey, who's an ex-prisoner and a prison reform campaigner. Hello, Cody. Good morning to you.
How are you doing, Jason? You all right?
Good morning. Very well, thank you very much indeed. Your reaction to the new proposals?
Mate, this criminologist is, mate, I tell you what, they'll be paid in muriels on the perimeter walls next. Taking bars out of cell windows, right? You can then look onto a prison yard, or you might look onto a perimeter fence. You're still in prison, your liberty's still taken away. They'll be telling you next that, like, this sort of taking the cell bars away from windows it's going to cure mental health, it's going to reduce reoffending. The thing is, what you need to remember though, Jason, is Berwyn is the first prison of its kind, right? And what I mean by that is they've already got laptops in the cells at Berwyn. Right? No internet cells like the professor alluded to. They can order. When she said about ordering the groceries, what they mean by that is you can order food in two ways. Your canteen is from your personal money, and you can buy crisps and chocolate and things like that, drinks and stuff, protein bars and things like that. And then you've got your meal ordering, which you do on the same system, but it's in a different app, if you will. And then you order your food for the week and stuff, and you can it scares me the thought that prisoners are actually, because if you've got everything you need in your cell, they can keep you locked up for longer. But the thing is, how we treat prisoners whilst they are in prison will dictate and determine how they act upon release. And what society needs to remember is that prison isn't there to respond to society's emotions. And 99% of prisoners, unless serving whole life tariffs, are going to be reintroduced into society at some point. And it's how we treat them whilst they are in prison, which will, like I say, ultimately dictate how they act upon release. If you treat people with fewer police on the streets, these people want prison to work. Trust me. Reoffending rates in England and Wales cost the taxpayer £15 billion a year. So I don't buy into all this stuff about taking the cells, bars out the windows. A jail is still a jail. You're still locked behind your door against your will, and like I say, you're still going to have the psychological impact on prison is massive, and the media like to paint out that it's a holiday camp, Butlins with bars, or should he say Butlins without bars in the future if this is the way they're going as they write it. The reality is very different, Jason.
Can I just put this to you? This is, you mentioned Butlins. This is the Rat Man in Brackla, who's one of our regular texters, and the Rat Man says we need to bring back the cat and nine tails and hard labour. It is like Butlins in some of these prisons. People will think twice about committing crime then. What would you say to the Rat Man?
I would say to the Rat Man that attitude is what's wrong. That's the attitude that's wrong. These people are ignorant and not in the know. I've been behind my door, so I know what I'm talking about. Now, like I say to him, by brutalising prisoners, as he refers to in his text, right? Do you think that that's really conducive to rehabilitation, or does it act as a deterrent? It doesn't do either. All that succeeds in doing, Jason, honestly, is making you demoralised, desensitized, dehumanized, and even more disenfranchised than when you enter the system. And again, these people are going to be reintegrated into society at some point, and then reoffending rates are through the roof. There's fewer police on the streets. Community police stations are closing down. Prison needs to be the last line of defence, and this is the thing. So prison needs to work, and these people, they actually wrong. Prison should be about, surely the aim of prison is to the law-abiding people of England and Wales is so that you leave in a better position, so you don't commit crime, and that you become a productive member of society, pay tax back into the system, thus saving the taxpayer £40,000 a year that it costs to house you in prison. Surely that's the aim of prison. To those on the right side of the track.
Cody, this is going to help me out, and it's going to help my listeners out, okay? Because Yvonne had difficulty answering the question, and maybe she doesn't know the environment better.
She's the one that's come up with this whole thing, so the fact that she can't even do justice to her own ideas, and the fact she doesn't know there's already incel things, all these things that are coming out, apart from the bars on the windows and stuff like that, they're already in place at HMP Berwyn. right?
Yeah.
They're already in place there. They don't call you. They don't call a cellar. They don't call it a cell. They call it a room. They call you by your first name. They knock on your door before they enter. It's called Mandela rules, right?
So all this stuff is already happening as well. Then this is all happening. So you don't need a criminologist to carry out £650,000 of research. This is already happening.
Yeah, it's in Berwyn now. If you look at Berwyn and the model of Berwyn Prison, Berwyn cost £212 billion. It was opened in April of 2017, right? So it's nearly 2 years old. That prison, like I say, certain things have been added to it. I've heard about tea making facilities. They're bringing like sandwich makers in and all this stuff. I've heard that. I've heard about pictures on the walls. But if you look at the makeup of Berwyn, it's already doing these things. They're calling prisoners by the first name. They don't call it a cell, they call it a room. And the truth is, it doesn't work because Berwyn, before it even opened, I said it's super because it's classed as a super prison. I said it's super in only its size and its failings. I speak to many prisoners that are in that prison, whether it be through the prisoner's girlfriend or directly. And the truth is, it doesn't work. It's still self-harm, still staff corruption, still suicides. Do you know what I mean? There was a guy that was found dead on New Year's Day there. I won't name him because we're obviously on the radio.
No,
he was found dead, and medical negligence has contributed to his death. And I found out I'm having to tell the prisoner's family the circumstances of their loved one death because I've got a direct link with somebody on the wing.
Well, I don't have anyone from HMP Bedouin to give that side of the story. You understand how to say that. Cody, just before you go, right? Just before you go, right? And we're running out of time, so I'll appreciate this if you do this really quickly. Yvonne couldn't answer the question about the type of prisoners that are in Bedouin. You sound like you're in the know. As you say, you've been behind the door, so you know the story. You know the score. What sort of prisoners are we talking about? Murderers.
Right. Prisons are categorised, right? You've got 4 categories, A, B, C, and D. A is your high security, D's opened, and C is like, what it is, the idea is, the longer you're in, you progress through. So from a Cat A prisoner, which you could be like an armed robber, could be a murderer, you'll get declassed, eventually you'll get your Cat B. From your category B, you'll go to a Cat C prison. Berwyn's the Cat C prison a lot of prisoners are being sent to. And then, like I say, so you'll have murderers, armed robbers, thieves, petty thieves, fraudsters, because they've worked their way through the system. I mean, there was a story from Berwyn the other day about there's been 16 former being the key word, Cat A prisoners that have gone through that prison.
Right.
But they work their way through. They prove themselves.
Yeah.
They get recategorized. They go to a lower security. They go to a lower security facility. So murderers, armed robbers, and thieves.
Okay. Listen, we got to leave it there, but thank you very much indeed, Cody. That's really good. Thank you very much indeed. Now we have everything